So I just felt like I had this very intense urge to come on and talk about generational karma. So today we're going to be looking at what is karma, really, practically in our everyday life. How can we see it? How can we interact with it? And we're going to also be talking about specifically generational karma, what that is specifically, how it gets passed on from generation to generation, and ultimately how can we help to end some generational karma. Now, I one time heard this very eloquent, beautiful explanation of what karma is, and it says it way better than I can say it myself. And that is that karma is not what happens to us in this lifetime. It is not what gets done to us in this lifetime. But ultimately, it is how we choose to interact with the things that happen to us. Now, as with all spiritual concepts, we can only intellectualize them to a certain point. We can only try to understand them till a certain point. But what we can do is we can feel it. How does that feel in our body? The reaction that we have to the things that happen to us, to the things that we have no control about. How do we react? Now, I guess the question is, what is happening to us? Did we deserve what happens to us? Is there anything in this life that we truly deserve? Or is it just things that are meant to be part of our journey, are meant to be things that we experience? Good and bad. But what makes experience good or bad? It is our judgment of that is experience. It is our takeaway from the experience. It is the action, or I should say the reaction, that then has consequences for our life. And we can say a lot about, oh yeah, someone said something nasty to us. What do we say back? Karma. But it goes deeper than that. What about trauma? What about sexual abuse? All of these things. It is hard to equate a sassy backhand comment to something as traumatic as that. But ultimately, our reaction on those events are our karma. And I'm not saying that we're not meant to experience pain or that your pain is not valid, but that is part of the karma. Now, generational karma is a special type of reactionary process that happens between parents and their children, I would say, most of the time. Now, first of all, it is based on our own trauma. What did we as individuals go through? What shaped us into the people that we are today? Good and bad. But when it comes to the way a parent interacts with their child, the way a parent speaks with their child, the type of things they say freely, that should not always be said so freely. Whether that is compliments, let's focus on the positive, compliments, really infusing their children with self-confidence themselves, making them realize that true beauty is within, that they are beautiful, and that could be very beautiful generational karma. The flip side of the coin, insulting your children, making them feel like they are less than, that they are not good enough. And I think to a certain extent, all of us have experienced that from our parents. But when we pass that reaction, that is our reaction, then our reaction on our trauma reaction, doing it to our children, we can choose not to. I guess what I'm saying, if you want to know how to end, see, I'm now skipping ahead. If you want to know how to end generational trauma, that is the thing. Awareness of our actions, of our reactions, of our own trauma, awareness. And then stopping ourselves, becoming aware of our own actions, but stopping ourselves, redirecting ourselves when we see it going bad into a certain direction. But I think for a lot of us, especially when you have children, you somehow think you will be figured out by the point that you're adult. You're like, I will not be like that. I will not be like my parents when I'm older. But why are we like our parents when we're older? It's because we have not had a chance to self-reflect on how they treated us and our response to that. See, self-reflection leads to awareness. If we've not self-reflected yet, it's so easy to get into the patterns that were shown to us as children. And we start talking to our children like our parents talk to us. And I think that's also why does this keep coming up? Maybe someone needs to hear that, but that's also the reason that sexual abuse is passed through families. There has not been any self-reflection on our own trauma that leads to awareness, that leads to stopping the cycle. And I'm not defending here anyone. Why do I feel like the need to say that? Someone needs to hear this. Someone who's watching this video needs to hear that. Generational karma can be stopped. You are not a victim. You are not a spectator. You ultimately are the one in control of your actions. You are ultimately the one who can say, hey, I realize I'm starting to act like my parents. I realize that I'm acting in a way that I don't like. I realize that I'm doing things that I am not happy with. My behavior, my reactions, the way I'm talking to my children, the way I'm talking to those around me. By having that awareness, we can then say, let's shift. Let's shift our consciousness. Let's shift our point of perception. How do we want to be? Do you know how you want to be? Do you know how you envision your ultimate true self, the one that you know to be in here? How would your true self react without the trauma, without everything that happened or you feel like that was done to you? If all of that never happened and you were starting with a clean slate, how would you react? Now let's try, every time that we become aware of these reactions that we're unhappy with, let's try to shift into our true selves. Let's try to shift the awareness and the reactions onto that of our true self. And that way we can help to heal generations to come. We can help heal ourselves. And I feel like if we all do that, if we all try to identify the things that need a little bit work, and we put the work in, stop making excuses for yourself. Accept the fact that you are imperfect, but accept the fact that you can change. Change. Let's evolve together. Let's help each other grow. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. We all do things to hurt other people. What do you do that hurts other people? Is it the way that you talk? Is it your actions? For me, I know Mercury and Scorpio, I can be like little, I can sting. And it is a way of self-preservation for me, because I oftentimes feel like I never have control of my life for a long period of time. But what I had control over was my words. And boy, oh boy, did I use them. And I oftentimes find myself falling a little bit back into that pattern as a form of self-preservation. Is that something that I want to pass on to my children? Do I want to traumatize them through that? No, I don't. And that is why I feel ultimately I have to shift the point of awareness. I have to shift my actions to match that. Becoming aware of the way that I talk to my children, becoming aware of the words I use, and always try to build them up, never make them feel less than, never try to make them feel worthless. That's what I'm currently working on, because I feel like I always got those backhanded comments as a child, and they hurt. Especially from my one grandmother. It traumatized me in a lot of ways. And I'm working through that. I've accepted. And I'm working through that. And ultimately I have to shift my point of awareness onto my true self. Who am I? How do I react? How does the true Ileana react? Not this picture that other people have chosen of me. Not this point of ego that I identify with, but my true self. And if you're looking on how to break generational karma, that is my advice to you. Become aware. First, you have to self-reflect. That's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing that you have to overcome, is the awareness. Becoming aware. The awareness of the childhood trauma. But ultimately, through that, the awareness of your reaction on that, your awareness of reaction on whether people talk and treat you, every experience you've had. And sometimes it's easier to see our awareness of situations when we look at the bad things. How do we react? And then the awareness of our actions that follow. After something happens to us, we have our emotional reaction, but what is the physical reaction as well? It's kind of what I want to say, because I wish there were two different words, reaction, it's the same. But I mean the mental reaction, emotional reaction, and the physical reaction, they're two different things. Identifying each of those separate entities. Now we have the awareness. Now what? Then it's the shifting of self into your true self, shifting through the point of awareness, feeling it. You have it, you have your point of awareness, my true self, direct it directly, your energy towards that. What is it that I want? Who am I? And through that, you know how you should be acting, how you can correct those emotional and physical reactions into something that helps you like kind of as a catalyst to transform into your true self, and by letting go of that karma, you are therefore not passing that on to further generations, your own children, those around you. And if everyone does that, just think of what was going to happen to the world. The age of Aquarius, as a lot of people talk about, a time where we can finally transcend these emotional shackles, these karmic shackles that are holding us down. We can transcend into a better, happier place for all of us. I don't know, this video was very difficult for me to record, and I felt really like I had to talk about this. I had to channel this message, and I do feel like this message was specifically for a few people who needed to hear it, and a few people with a lot of emotional trauma. So I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. But I'm very happy to hear that you're working on yourselves. That is beautiful. And I know it's difficult. It's difficult for all of us. But you're doing it. And I promise you, the pain that you feel now will be worth it. The pain that you feel now, it's starting to heal. You know, when like you have this like intense cut or something, and then someone like, oh, this picture of like throwing the salt into the wound. Why did I make that look so graphic? But the salt in the wound, and then you're like, oh, it makes the pain worse. But what you're doing is you're healing through that. You're doing it. And I feel that so intensely. It makes me so happy. And be there for yourself. Accept yourself for where you are now. You don't have to be that. Your true self that you see your future self as, it's already here inside. It's already part of you. It's not two separate beings. You are that person. Accept that. Accept that you still have work to do. Accept that you still have some things that you need to resolve emotionally. Love yourself for where you are now. Love this part of the journey. Love this day. We are not there yet. This what we're meant to accomplish in life. We've not achieved that maybe yet. But this here is part of the journey. And as I always say, like, let me pull another corny quote out. The destination is not the goal. The way is. Is it like that in English? The quote. Sorry, my voice. But you know which quote I'm talking about. And that is true. This part of the journey is just as valid as you reaching that end goal. You're just as beautiful. You just deserve to be as loved as you are now. So please love yourself. Love yourself. Accept yourself. You cannot hate yourself into changing. You can only love yourself into changing. So to the person or few people that really needed to hear this, good luck. Good luck to all of you. I guess we're gonna see where these videos lead us, because I have absolutely no idea. We're gonna see what the universe wants us to talk about. And if you have any specific questions, you can also ask me in the comments down below. We can discuss it as a community, respectful, loving, full of acceptance. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day.